It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. So, folks, let me ask you a question. What do you know about medical marijuana? What do you know about cannabis? All right, we're hearing a lot of good things. People are worried. People are a little concerned. Well, today we're going to try to get a little bit more education on this particular cannabis and medical marijuana. My guest today is no stranger, of course, to our SSP TV, is Dr. Dave Moylan. He is the Schuylkill County Coroner, plus he's also the host of a very popular show called Modern Medicine. Dave, thanks for coming on the show.
Always a pleasure, Sam. Thank you.
I got to tell you, I watch Modern Medicine. Extremely informative. Really, you have some great guests on there, you know.
Well, we try to get thought leaders in the field at the cutting edge of medicine. We've been successful at
you certainly are, and I gotta congratulate you in doing that. You know, it's an asset to SSP TV. So before we get into this, I don't know if it's controversial, but it's something that has been really gaining a lot of momentum in the state, medical marijuana, cannabis, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about the Schuylkill County Coroner's Office. What's going on there?
Well, last year, 2016, we saw a tremendous uptick in the number of drug-related deaths. The year before, 2015, we had about 25. We went from 25 in 2015 up to 78, Sam. It was like triple. And it's all ages. It's not just teenagers or young adults. We're seeing the deaths up into the 50s and early 60s. Some of it's the opioids. And I'm going to talk about what the perceived problem with opioids are. Number one is diversion. Kids taking the grandfather's Percocet or oxycodone and using it for partying. So diversion is one problem. The other is probably inappropriate prescribing. And those two problems, I think they could come back to haunt us in the field of medical marijuana. But bringing you up to date on the drug deaths, we're still doing a comprehensive analysis of the 78 drug deaths. And we're going to look at how many also had THC or marijuana on board as either a gateway drug or a facilitation of this. And we're also looking at our suicides. We had over 35 suicides in 2016. And we've noticed that a number of those had drugs on, whether it's taken to calm the person down before the suicidal act or whatever. But there are two concerns that we have. So far this year, 2 months, we're at the end of February, we've had 9 drug-related deaths. So if you do the math on that, we'll probably come up with another 55, which would be an improvement of last year, but still double what we had in 2015. So these are the concerns that we have.
You know, I shake my head. It's just a sad thing, Dave. It really is. It really is just a sad thing. When you're the Schuylkill County Coroner's Office, as well as Luzerne County Coroner's Office, or any coroner's office, I know you've been very vigilant as to trying to cut costs down as much as you could, but you still have to provide a service, okay? I had Christine Holman on, and she'll be probably on a couple more times. I like it. I think for the public concerned, they're always concerned about, are we getting our money's worth? Okay, we're paying taxes. No one likes to pay the taxes, but when we look at the different offices, are they doing what they said they were doing? Christine Holman laid a whole mess of things down that she was an accomplished as a district attorney, and evidently she accomplished them, okay? And talked to Marie Casey, okay? She said she was going to do something as clerk of courts, and she's doing them, okay? I have the county commissioners, George Halkovich. I'm ready to do a meeting with him, also with hopefully the president, Judge Baldwin, to see how they're doing. So the people understand what's happening. What I'm trying to get at is the Schuylkill County office has a budget. However, every time you have a death that you're not aware of, what is the cost? In other words, you had 70 5 suicides, or not suicides, but drug-related deaths. Okay, so now that's a cost, isn't it, to the county?
Oh, it's an unbelievable burden. And if law enforcement is going to get a conviction on the person that provided the scheduled substance, the drug, to the person, and it results in death, we have to be able to tell a jury that that was the cause of the death. So we have to measure the drug levels not only in the blood, where that level is what actually kills you, but we also have to do toxicology in the urine, because some of these drugs, heroin in particular, can go in and out of your system in 25, 30 minutes, and it would only be detectable as the heroin product or the heroin metabolite in the urine. So we have to do this double testing, and oftentimes we'll have to check the fluid in the ocular tissues to see if there's other trace elements or other explanations for the demise of the patient. Because a defense attorney could say, doctor, yes, there were drugs on board, but this man died of a brain hemorrhage. And incidentally, we just had a case within the last 2 weeks, and the man was doing drugs, but he did have a hemorrhage in the brain. That was his cause of death. And we did detect that by CAT scan, post-mortem CAT scan. So that's been a very cost-effective tool at ferreting out the cause and manner of death. So that's one thing that we brought to the county that will keep costs in control. But as long as we're seeing the 50 to 75 drug deaths a year, it's an incredible burden on the taxpayer.
Sure it is. And the other thing is, I witnessed, you had me there, and I saw a virtual autopsy that you had showed me, and you showed me where it was a widowmaker, that particular person died, and you said, Sam, boom. Now, here again, you know, you do these things to gather information, hopefully to benefit society, okay, from, you know, the autopsy. But your virtual autopsies really save a lot of money. I mean, I think if you had to do a full autopsy, am I correct?
Well, an open autopsy was $1,800, but we work with Reading Hospital, and they just increased the rate to $2,000 per case. And then it's a couple $100 to move a body from Schuylkill County down to Reading. So we're talking $2,000 plus, and plus the toxicology. The virtual autopsy is under $200. And again, that could be overdone, but we try to have a selective use of that modern test.
I saw that, you know, when you showed me that, it was really interesting. And then, you know, you're able to see a lot from that virtual autopsy. It was really interesting. There's
some limitations. For instance, a thrombosis of the coronary artery, that we can see with calcium deposit. But a blood clot that, say, came from the legs up, that's of the same density as the blood, and that is hard to determine from this non-invasive test.
Before we go to break and get back to the subject here, medical marijuana, do you feel that the coroner's office, you know, as with your deputies, and, you know, do you feel that the coroner's office is fulfilling their obligation to Schuylkill County taxpayer?
Well, absolutely, and I think we've brought the whole department into the 21st century. We're doing stuff that they're doing, you know, in Philadelphia and Baltimore, and I think it's a big boon to the county residents.
Well, not to patronize you, but I know you for many years. I've known you even before you became involved with SSPTV. I think the county is very fortunate to have a person like you on board with your knowledge. Seriously, Dave, and you know, you have a lot on your plate, you know. But to be the Schuylkill County coroner and bringing this expertise to the county, I think that's admirable.
One other thing, Sam.
Yeah.
We're bringing experts from all over the state into Schuylkill County on the 29th of April for our 6th annual Forensic Science Conference. It's approved by the Attorney General's office for 8 hours of credit for coroners.
That's fabulous. Folks, I'm talking to Dr. Dave Moylan, who is the Schuylkill County coroner, also host of Modern Medicine. Now it plays on Comcast 190 in Pottsville, and also up here on our 2 channels, Channel 13 and our HD channel 513. You definitely got to watch it. It's probably most of you are watching, but it's very informative, as well as all our medical shows are. It's Your Health, Dr. Kislin with Eye Care Today, Dr. Kimmel with Body Beautiful, and Skin Sense with Dr. Sliker. A lot of great shows we have that are bringing a lot of information to you. We come back, let's talk about this medical marijuana. Okay, a lot of seniors are concerned about that. Marijuana, yes, cannabis. They're concerned about this medical marijuana, and we hear a lot of different stories about this. Maybe Dr. Moylan could shed a little bit more light on this decision that the state made. We'll be back right after this. I'm Sam Lesante. Remember, folks, if you're have any friends in Pottsville, we're on Comcast 190, and we're on every day on Comcast 190. In the Wilkes-Barre, Kingston, Mountaintop area, we're on Channel 92 on Saturday and Sunday evenings. In Lackawanna County, all my friends up there in Scranton, Saturday and Sunday mornings on Comcast 190. Here in the greater Hazleton area, remember our HD channel 513 and, of course, 13. My email, sam@ssptv.com, and remember you can watch all of the shows we produce on ssptv.com. My guest today is Dr. Dave Moylan, who is the Schuylkill County Coroner. Okay, Dave, medical marijuana, cannabis, a lot of discussion about it. I know a couple of years ago we had a show on that, so fill us in what's happening.
Well, Sam, it was almost 2 years ago that we sat down for a modern medicine show, and we spoke about medical marijuana. And I'm going to tell you that at that point, I thought I had the answers. And now I think I realize that there's many facets to the issue, and maybe we can explore a couple of them with your viewers. Now, I did talk to a law enforcement seminar in Pottsville that DA Christine Holman had put on. And these are some of the slides that I used there. But the question I was asking was, medical marijuana is a boon or a benefit, or is it a canard? And Christine said, you better define that. So I put up a slide here, a definition. Now, a canard has several definitions. One, it's seen in supersonic transport like the Concorde, and it's these little winglets that are in the front part of the fuselage. Well, that's not what we're talking about. But it can also be a waterfowl, a canard. But the one definition I think applies here is a deliberately misleading fabrication. I think our president would call that fake news. Next slide. And I wanted to start off with a quote by CNN medical correspondent, Dr. Sanjay Gupta. And the quote is, "I apologize because I didn't look hard enough until now. I didn't look far enough. I didn't review papers from smaller labs in other countries doing some remarkable research, and I was too dismissive of the loud chorus of legitimate patients whose symptoms improve on cannabis." And the reason I think this bears getting our attention is that Sanjay Gupta, a neurosurgeon, during the Iraq War, he went into an OR there. A little kid had been damaged in one of the explosions, and he put down his microphone and went over and operated on the guy, the young kid. Unfortunately, he didn't survive, but that's the type of guy that Sanjay Gupta is, and I want to hear what he had to say. Next slide. Okay, well, this is just the definition of medical marijuana, so we all know what we're talking about. It refers to the use of cannabis or marijuana, including the constituents. And there are about 60 to 80 compounds in the raw weed, THC, cannabinoids, but it's for physician-recommended form of medicine or herbal therapy. When we did the talk 2 years ago, there were 23 states, and now it's up to 28 states in the U.S. that have legalized the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes. Next slide. And this is the overview. The states in green, you know, the left coast, as you would say, Alaska, Maine, Massachusetts, they've legalized it for recreational use. The states in kind of the tan and those in the yellow, their states, and again, this is as of 2017, including our own state of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they have medical approval. Next slide. The ones in red, it's still illegal. And of course, the wild card here is the federal government. The federal government still has not legalized this Schedule II substance for use. And in Pennsylvania, it was Senate Bill 3. And again, it was introduced in January of 2015, but in April of 2016, it was approved by the General Assembly, the State Senate, and signed into law by Governor Wolf. So this is the law of the land. Next slide. And what this calls for in phase one, which we're in now, there will be 12 grower/processor permits throughout the state and up to 27 marijuana dispensary permits. And they've subdivided our Commonwealth into 6 districts. Next slide. There's 6 marijuana districts. Next slide. And you can see the right lower corner, that includes Schuylkill. So we're in the southeast district region, and Carbon, Lackawanna, Luzerne, they're in region 2, the northeast. And in region 1, there will be 10 grower permits, or no, 2 grower permits and 10 dispensaries. And I did hear that there is an application from Schuylkill County to get one of the grower permits. Next slide. So again, Senate Bill 3, it's the law of the land. Next slide. And again, my bias against medical marijuana was in the field of cancer. That's something I know.
Yes.
I've been doing cancer medicine for 35 to 40 years, and I didn't see any real need for it. And because we have legitimate drugs that can control nausea, vomiting, and pain. You know, what is the need for marijuana there? However, and I'm going to also say that we've been using medical marijuana, a different type of medical marijuana called Marinol. It's been approved by the FDA since 1985.
Well, when you look at these, you know, the ailments here, and they're saying that medical cannabis will help in these areas. Is that what I'm looking at here?
That's what you're looking
Well,
at. In fact, these are the only ones that have been approved.
There's a long list here. I mean,
There is a long list, and Sam, many of them are very dread diseases. The one called Huntington's disease, lower in the list.
Yeah.
That is, it strikes young people, 35, 40 years old. Also, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, the third one down. That's Lou Gehrig's disease. Yeah. There's no cure for these. They're a terrible disease. It affects the neurologic system.
Isn't this cannabis, medical cannabis, helping though? I mean, according to what's up there, I'm sure there had to be research on this.
There had to be some research. Again, what has been lacking is the traditional randomized controlled studies in which half the people got the drug, half of them didn't, and pretty much most of this reports are anecdotal. Small groups of patients that seem to have some benefit. So anyway, I have an open mind on the many diseases that are there that I am not an expert on. But what I feel about is irrelevant now because, as I said, this is the law of the land. Can we have another slide there? Okay, and again, THC, CBD, these are some of the, as I said, 60 to 80 compounds that are in there. So when you take the marijuana as the whole leaf, smoking it, you really don't know what you're getting. Next slide. And this is lifted right from the law SB 3, that in Pennsylvania, it can only be dispensed in the following forms. One would be pill, oil, or a topical gel, creams, ointments, and they're also considering vaporization or nebulization. Specifically excluded, smoking is not approved method of delivery for Pennsylvania. So I think that is a good element to the law. no smoking delivery. It'll have to be some better control metering of how many milligrams or micrograms of the active substance gets into the person's body.
Folks, I'm talking to Dr. Dave Moylan. We're talking about medical marijuana, the benefits, and how it will help. It did pass in the state of Pennsylvania, correct?
It's the law of the land as of April of 2016.
Okay. We'll be back right after this break. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. My guest, Dr. Dave Moylan, Schuylkill County Coroner, also host of Modern Medicine. We're talking about medical marijuana. Okay, so you're continuing to explain some of the things, educating us on the cannabis. Okay,
Yeah,
we have some slides that you
if you have some patience here, we'll go through a couple more slides.
I have all the patience in the world.
Yeah. Okay, Sam, this is why we cannot go home again.
Okay.
This was Pandora's box has been opened, and I thought it would be useful to look at some of the financial statistics that are coming out of Colorado. And down below where it says total for 2015, between the recreational sales in Colorado and medicinal, it totaled $996 million, okay?
846 million.
Well, no, we're down, down
the
below
bottom.
in 2015.
So recreational seems to be more than
Yes,
the medical.
Medical.
Okay.
But then going up to 2016, the figure, as you rightly pointed out, was 845 million.
Yeah.
But that's only for 8 months. If you extrapolate it
Yes.
for the whole year, for all of last year,
So
comes
you
out
see
to
it-
1.2 billion with a B.
Okay. So you're looking at recreational still
Yeah.
much higher than the medical. Okay.
Yeah. And what does that translate into state revenue?
Yeah.
Let's look at the next slide, and that has the various tax rates.
Yeah.
And again, California has been more established. It's out there longer than Colorado, but we're talking of millions and millions of dollars in tax revenue.
Okay.
And that's going to be hard for the state legislatures to turn their back on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a whole industry has sprung up overnight. Mm-hmm. Next slide. And then this is just some of the pros and cons out there. The pros, it could certainly have some medical benefits, but on the cons, there could be some risks, adverse reactions, and perhaps related to the formulation. Again, in Pennsylvania, people won't be smoking the medical marijuana. Next slide. And again, this was a survey from patients that were taking it, and they were asked what their concerns were. And one was, will this cause lung cancer? Again, when you're smoking it, that the jury's still hasn't come in with that information. But there is concern, for secondhand smoke, et cetera. But in other cancers, it's been studied that young men who are chronically using marijuana, there was an increased incidence of testicular cancer, which can be quite deadly. And the other concerns were financial. What's the federal government going to do? And it will certainly be interesting, and maybe we'll hear from the president tonight on what the FDA is going to do as far as enforcing the federal statutes on marijuana.
So, you have any more slides?
There might be one or two more. Okay, well, these were deaths due to drugs, and marijuana is at the very bottom. It's a flat line. Hardly anybody dies of marijuana. As I said, we're doing some studies to see if there were other
So let me ask you
causes.
some questions. We got about 3 minutes left.
Okay.
So, in my understanding, I know Dr. Tom Mead has been very, very doing a great job with eliminating opioids, et cetera, in his one-day surgeries, and was at a seminar, and one of the people there were a doctor who was advising Governor Wolf on the medical marijuana, and evidently from their test and everything they've done, that medical marijuana is a benefit, the medical marijuana. Okay, so based on that research that I'm like you're giving me research, this is what they're saying. So do you have a question about that?
I certainly do. That different standards have been applied to this rather controversial drug and how it's being introduced. And when we're bringing a new drug for cancer into the field, it is rigorously tested, many studies comparing placebo versus.
You don't think there was enough testing done?
I do not. I think it should really be turned back over to the Food and Drug Administration. There's certainly many drugs out there that are marijuana derivatives.
Who
They're
else
still
feels
studying
that
them.
way besides you in the state of Pennsylvania?
I know
Are there
that,
other coroners that feel this, or other
well,
doctors? Or
There's only about 10 coroners who are physicians in the state, but yes, there is a movement, a grassroots movement among doctors, many that I've talked to,
But
that
the people that
have these reservations.
The people who have benefited from medical marijuana, okay, that have been using medical, there has been cases that they have been getting better by using medical marijuana.
You know, Sam, I think that's what we would call anecdotal evidence. You know, somebody coming on TV and talking about a benefit, but it hasn't been rigorously
So in your
tested.
case, you feel that there should be more research done before we continue on with the...
Indeed, I do. And in fact, when a new drug is released, say in cancer, there's post-marketing research. Once it's been approved, physicians, patients, they turn in any side effects, and that's further studied so that a larger picture
How much
is
more studying?
obtained.
Because you said 2 years ago you had one viewpoint. Now it's a little different after 2 years. How much more research you think they have to do before you're convinced that medical marijuana, you know, is the right thing to do?
We're embarking on a Commonwealth-wide experiment. We should collect data as this is going forward. And one of the things that we're going to have to look at is hospitalizations in the emergency rooms for overdoses in children that get a hold of this stuff because it's packaged, at least out in the other states, like candy sometimes.
Thanks for coming on the show, Dave. It's always a pleasure. The one thing I'd like to find out, and I asked Christine Holman this, is the recreational part in those states. I wonder what has happened after after they start using marijuana. Is it really a gateway drug that more are people using stronger? I don't know if they have any
It's not
statistics.
controlled, you know, the potency's not controlled.
Folks, don't forget, watch Modern Medicine with Dr. Dave Moylan. He has great guests on, a lot of great information. Go to our website. You can watch it 24/7 on ssptv.com. All of our medical shows, folks, have been really informative. They've saved many lives. I'll tell you that right now. They've saved many lives. Dr. Dave Moylan is a Schuylkill County coroner and is doing an excellent job for the taxpayers of Schuylkill County. We'll see you next time.